Elimination X, the anti-establishment duo take on the World Tag Team Champions, the Spirit Squad, 5-on-2 in an elimination match.
And also tonight from Friday Night SmackDown, former World Champion Batista returns to in-ring action for the first time in 7 months, teaming with World Champion Rey Mysterio and former U.S. Champ Lashley versus King Booker, the world's strongest man Mark Henry, and the man who loves to fight, the U.S. Champion Finlay.
And the main event, a former champion of one contender John Cena challenges Edge, the WWE Champion, for the WWE title for the first time in 14 years here on NBC.
This is the Pro Wrestling Reflection Podcast with your host, the Professor Chalbelo Veracruz.
What a run!
Mr. Wonderful Tommy Wonder.
And I will take the powers of those that have no fear!
And the prodigal one, JB.
The queen, yeah. The cream of the crop.
Now it's time to go back in time in the time machine.
The American Dream! Dusty Rhodes! Too sweet!
A living legend, Bruno Sammartino.
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass.
To be the man, you gotta beat the man. Woo! Look at this! He's running the ball! I don't believe it!
Madrid to Calabasas, Tijuana, Mexico, who the devils in Tokyo. Say they know me though, cause I'll be putting in work. Commit my life to reverse, well respected cause that's my word. And I'm sure you heard about a new sound gone round. She might have left my hood but she was born in my town. You didn't know how we was new on the scene. It's alright, it's alright. I know you know I see you smiling at me. It's alright, it's alright. Here comes the ready or not. Here comes the boys for the sound. Here comes the ready or not. How you like me now? I say we rep the sound.
What is going on there, Reflection Nights? What is going on there to the Beatoites, the Haminites, and still the probationary PWCites? But Jimmy T, you surprised the professor. Yes, I had to go on the PWC network and do a show and make a cameo appearance. But you know what? I do for you, you do for me. That's the way bosses do business. And that's why, and the episode, an episode popped up on the PWC network. So you know what? See, it was an alarm.
That's Taz.
It was Taz, it was an alarm. It's just, hell froze over. The PWC network aired an episode of the PWR. But anyway, you didn't know that. So you're still on probation, but you get a check mark here. You're on the good graces of the professor. But anyway, welcome to the PWR podcast here at the Hami Media Group at Podbeam.com. And welcome. We're going back to our roots. We're going back to what has made us the PWR podcast. We're going back again. I'm already movie hangover. I'm not doing any more movies yet. We might not do a movie until maybe Christmas. That's how I'm feeling right now. But again, it's like the initial reaction reflects that. When you feel not mad, not upset, but you know what? It's like you're climbing Mount Everest. I climbed Mount Everest. I'm not trying to do it again. I need a break. It's thin air up there. But anyway, need to hear that. But we're doing what we do best. Episodics. And we're at episode 183. And Donnie Day 1, who is binging. I didn't even tell CW this. Donnie Day 1 has slid into the DMs of the professor. No, did he? But he has said, Professor, I am binging on the PWR podcast, and I'm in 2022 episodes. And my reply was, God damn it, Donnie, you slow. You don't know what we got to talk about right now. You don't know how much I've made fun of you. You don't know what See, you won't even hear this, Donnie, until 2025 when you're trying to catch up. But anyway, we still love you, Donnie Day 1. I applaud the binge efforts You're 2 years behind, but you're trying to catch up. Maybe
He's
you'll
too
catch
busy listening to 102.5, playing Tom Petty, and sending it to me. He could be taking that time to listen to our podcast, but instead he's listening to the radio.
Well, Tom Petty, he's an icon. He's a national treasure. So
he's a dum-dum who started doing heroin in his 70s. That's a dum-dum, just so you know. And that's what killed him. P.S. I like him. I respect the music, but I have no respect for someone that picks up heroin in their 70s. Although, now that I say it out loud, that's probably when you should, not when you're 17. So if you're going to do it, do it. I was just telling my daughters, John Bon Jovi, my favorite liberal of all time, he's a dumbass who started smoking in his 30s because he was bored on a movie set, and now he's got throat problems. Welcome to the Surgeon General's warning there, Johnny.
And maybe now he's smoking weed in his 70s to circumvent the smoking.
Johnny's only 62. Don't be aging, my dude.
I'm just saying.
That's my Bon Jovi tattoo. That's my Bon Jovi tattoo right there.
It won't matter unless you subscribe to Big Ray Hernandez's PWR Reflection, because track, the slowest motherfucker, ain't even gonna upload that, so this way you see a tattoo. But then again, for the audio reflection, I do that again, so this way I can. You said that's a John Bon Jovi tattoo? Yeah, I see the stars.
It's a Bon Jovi tattoo. It's a band. It's not him.
I don't know. No Diddy. I thought it was a John Bon Jovi tribute
You know the funny
tattoo.
thing about that tattoo?
What about it?
I've had that tattoo. I got my first tattoo. I got that. I was at least 21. So you're talking 1994, 95. I got this tattoo. From 1997, 8, 9. Every time I wrestled, some jackass in the audience had to go, "Nice rock tattoo," and I would get furious and go, "I had it first. It's not a Brahma bull. It's a cattle head." And dude, I'm talking. I saw red. And I ever tell you a story about Larry Destiny? My travel road mate for years and years. He's living in LA, training celebrities.
You told me a couple.
Okay, so he had the fake Sting in a Cobra Clutch, Camel Clutch combo, right? And some fan in the front row said, "Lazy Eye Larry." Larry let go of the fake Sting, rolled out of the ring, stood right in front of that dude, and slapped his fucking hat off his head. It actually spun around, just knocked the shit out of him, said, "Who's got the lazy eye now?" Rolled back in the ring and put fake Sting back in the Cobra Clutch, Camel Clutch. And he was the good guy.
Y'all got triggered with your tattoos. Again, you injected him.
Tattoo, we called him Lazy Eye Larry.
I'm just saying, well, that whatever. Something triggers. You got triggered by a rock statement tattoo, and Larry gets triggered by
not the first time, the 50th, the 100th. It was every show. Some jackass had to say, "Nice rock tattoo." And I did slap a fan in Cleveland, Ohio. I have told that story on the podcast. Donnie's probably just now getting to that episode.
Probably is. That'd be new to him, but now it's old to us. But anyway, neither here nor there. But welcome to the PWR podcast. And if you don't know my voice, I'm the oh so studious one. I'm the oh so effervescent one. But most importantly, I'm the oh so glorious one. The only objective man in this IWC, YWC, and the probationary PWC punditry. The only objective man in this.
How come 8-track Black ain't, or Brown, whoever the hell opposes? How come they're not on probation?
Well, because it's part of the PW Hustle Brotherhood. So right. I can make fun of
putting yourself in a timeout, is what you're saying.
Well, yeah, that'd be that's redundant for us, right? But anyway, I'm the Professor Chabert Cruz, and I'm not here alone. No. I'm here with my brother from another mother, the conservative liberal, the liberal conservative, dum doer its own, the man that rocks a rock appreciation tattoo, the iron stomach one, Dr. Frickin' Sign, and the undisputed, undeniable Detroit heavyweight champion of the world, Tommy Wonder. How you doing, my friend?
I am doing grand. The weather is beautiful today. It's going to rain for the rest of the week, and it's rain. I got my golf plans rained out on Sunday morning, but luckily I was a little hurting from Saturday night, so I was all right with it. But I'm ready to get out there golfing again. See, I got my Honolulu blue golfing shirt on. Before I say anything else, I get notifications in my email every day. Our good man, CPP Dub, Christopher Paul Bruce Winland. I still am going to send you the picture, man. I don't get on there as much as I had. I've been remodeling my house. Been busy doing that stuff and taking trips. So if you hear this and you want to message me your address, or as Professor would say, slide into the DMs with your address, I will make that happen. I just don't want him to think I forgot about it.
I'm sure he did not. He hasn't forgotten either.
I know he hasn't.
I will make sure when I drop this episode, because I do all the work here at the PWR podcast, I will tag him and I'll make sure all the stuff is done to coordinate between you and Christopher Pearl Prusman, and TW is holding up a Yokozuna action figure with the championship belt.
I thought that was you.
No, I do have a belly, but not that big of a belly. But
this is the chase. And my good man Sean Pyatt, who has asked me more than once, you do a podcast? Which means he does not listen.
Mm-hmm. You don't tag people. It's your fault. Tag them. Jesus Christ.
I've answered him when he asked me, do I have a podcast? I answer him. So, yeah, I do. Go listen to it. I got other people. Donnie listens to it 2 years apart. Anyway, he was in the States looking at toys, and he told me what he saw, and he goes, you want me to get a Yokozuna? I go, you don't have to go back. I'm sure I'll find them at the Targets by me. And I go, unless there's a Chase one. And he goes, I don't know if there was any. And he goes, apparently I'm holding it now. That thing's worth $80 already. And he gave it to me. I tried to pay him. And then we said, you know what? I'm going to get you the Roddy Piper one, and we'll call it even. He's like, all right. And then he texted me when he got back to Canada and said, hey, man, we're even on the Yokozuna. It's my treat, my gift to you because of what I do for him. So that's pretty nice. I wanted to show that on there. Plus, I thought it was you. I didn't.
No, like I said, I would want residuals, but that's not me. That's not my stomach. But again, neither here nor there. But let's do what we do best, TW. Let's do our nostalgia. Let's do our episodics. And TW is this is what every time I say, let's start the show, then he's like, he's looking. And now you're holding a TW vintage.
Yeah. My buddy made me that. And there's a picture of me on there too.
A vintage Calavera Cortez WWE action figure.
Main attraction, Calavera Cortez.
There you go. But anyway, let's do what we do best. Again, we go back into the time machines. We're going back to 2006 Reflection Nights, around the summer of 2006, July of 2006. And we're going to do a very special episode of the WWE Saturday Night's Main Event. Now, TW, before we even get into this episode per se and what happened in this episode, we got to at least talk about, I guess we have to have not a debate, because again, this would have been a debate special, and it's not. But you and I grew up at a very pristine time in professional wrestling or sports entertainment, whatever you want to call it, where Saturday Night's Main Event was actually like a cult following, because in the 80s and early 90s, WWF, WWE, whatever you want to call it, Vince McMahon and Dick Ebersol had a great business relationship where NBC gave them the latitude of airing 3, maybe 4 episodes a year, preempting Saturday Night Live. People like me
doing the world a favor.
Yeah, well, it was funny back then. But again, I know where you're going with that. I'm not going into that right now. That's a different kind of subject for a different type of podcast. But I got you. I understand. Eddie Murphy's cast is still one of the best casts ever. But again, neither here nor there. But
Cassis.
That's what I said. Cassis. But anyway.
It's Cass.
Cassis.
There's no E.
I'm changing the pronouns. I'm changing the pronouns. But again.
They, them are the best.
Yeah. But anyway. You and I lived at that pristine time where we would stay up at 11:30 Eastern Standard Time. You was probably 10:30, whatever, in the Detroit time.
It was 11:30, jackass. We had the same time.
I'm just joking.
8 years of this, people. 8 years of this. Him and Ray. First it was Ray, now it's Professor. You always knew, and Ray was like, "What time is it?"
Just like people fuck with you with the Rock tattoo calling out. But anyway, again, neither here nor there. It's called troubling. But anyway, I love it. But we stayed up at 11:30 p.m. every Saturday for 3 or 4 times out of the year to see Saturday Night's Main Event. It was a cult following. It was a cult atmosphere. And this was at a time at its Phoenix where WWF, Rock and Wrestling, Hulkamania, all the stars aligned for Vince McMahon to do that. You got pay-per-view quality matches on Saturday Night's Main Event. when WWE wasn't doing pay-per-views like they are doing it like once a month, like they're doing right now. So it was a very special moment because you got to see Hulk Hogan defend the world title. You got to see tag team title matches. You got to see intercontinental title matches. You got to see rivalries either start or do the payoff. So Saturday night's main event was a big fucking deal. But like all good things, it doesn't last. And in let's say the early to mid 90s, they canceled. It went to Fox, and then it just didn't capture its, it didn't capture that fire. It didn't capture that magic. Well, WWE wanted to try it again. So for the first time in many years, in 2006, NBC offered them a primetime slot, you could say. It wasn't 11:30. It was like 8 p.m., maybe 9 p.m. Maybe it was like a 90-minute show. Maybe it was a 2-hour show. It was 8 to 10. Okay, so it was a 2-hour block of a special, if you will, Reflection. That's in 2006. I think they got maybe like 3 Saturday night's main events out of it during 2006. But TW, it begs the question. I don't know. I couldn't call it a success in terms of the cult following. I can't call it a success. Maybe the ratings was decent enough, but it just, I don't think the fans, even the wrestling fans, even the casual fans was like caring for WWE. Even when you had John Cena, you had Edge, you had DX and all that stuff. And even in 2020, Quattro TW, what say you? I don't think you can capture that magic that you and I was a part of in the 80s. What say you about it? Yeah.
I'm going to tell you why. Because as you were talking about that, explaining it, I never realized it before because it was on so late that I never made the correlation between the two. But what Saturday night's main event basically was Clash of Champions before Clash of Champions, because WCW Saturday night, you might have Ric Flair versus Ricky Morton or Hawk or some half of a tag team. That was your main event. The rest was squash matches. And there was one on this main event too. Your boy got squashed pretty good. But the whole premise was Saturday morning and Sunday morning were basically syndication. So because I used to wonder, how does NBC get to do that? Because you couldn't do that now because of the TV deals with USA and Fox and whoever else is going to have it on Netflix. So they're not going to be like, hold up, why are you giving it to NBC? So it would end up being like
well, you can understand. Well, actually, I can answer that question because NBC and USA are part of the same bundle. Okay, you could say,
but it was really what it was a house show that was taped or aired, right? Because the house shows is where you get Hogan versus Macho Man and all the stuff. House shows aren't jobbers. They might have a jobber or two curtain jerk, but that's it. So it was basically Clash of Champions before that. And then, do you know what Clash of Champions and Saturday night's main event evolved into?
Pay-per-views, monthly pay-per-views.
Monday Night Raw and basically Monday Nitro. They became what you saw every Monday was what you would see on the main event, because it was never really title changes. Title changes were still only at pay-per-views or some freak house show because some guy got hurt and they did a quick switch. But no one ever loses their belt on Raw, or with obviously exceptions like Cactus Jack and stuff like that. Luger.
I get what you're saying. It wasn't the norm back then. It's becoming a little bit of the norm
because
now.
All you'd be doing is making a third day of SmackDown Raw or a third day of AEW Dynamite and Collision, because it's basically what it is now. But what I would say it is like, I can't remember, TakeOver. TakeOver is Saturday night's main event now. It's just on Peacock. It's not well, I guess technically it's a pay-per-view because it's on the same platform. But you have your 2 hours of NXT every week, and then every 3 months you have a TakeOver, and it's usually awesome. It's usually shorter. Like it's the same amount of time, but there's only 3 or 4 matches. There's less promos and stuff. It paces differently than the weekly TV show. So to answer your question, yes, you can do it, but you can't do it with the main rosters because you're basically just making a third Raw or SmackDown.
Yeah, I think I'll go with that. Again, the overexposure, oversaturation, and basically what's going on today, even what was going on in 2006 Reflection Nights, is what TW is saying. Is because if you have Raw, you have SmackDown, you're basically not having squash matches and promos leading up to something. You're just having promos leading up to next week's Raw or next week's SmackDown and to next month's pay-per-view. And then you're going to add Saturday Night's Main Event, which is now a storyboard filler to something else, which is just.
But there was one thing that they had going for them. They said it once, they said it 100 times. Mm-hmm. Remember, Saturday Night's Main Event is all 3 brands. So it was almost like a super show because you got to see stuff from ECW, SmackDown, and Raw on one show. So that made it special.
You know what? Now that you say that, this was actually the first concept, if you will, Reflection Nights, of the Super Show concept before Vince McMahon fucked it up like about a year later and 2 years later by just having the Raw Super Show and the SmackDown Super Show, because sometimes you just needed to have high quality talent on both shows for the ratings, quote unquote. So with that being said, TW, I guess we could go into this, and you kind of like parlayed it that all 3 brands were represented here: Raw, SmackDown, and ECW per se. But ECW was really just, it was an afterthought.
Squash.
I mean,
it was a squash.
It was a squash. We could talk about that first because, again, I wasn't pissed off at it. But I knew about it. You know me and my love for ECW. But you didn't know me back then in 2006. I was like, let's burn this motherfucker down. This is not my ECW. I went to the Hammerstein Ballroom for a couple of ECW shows, the WWE ECW shows. I was heckling, I was trolling, I was doing everything. I was trying to ruin the show. I said, this is not your mother's ECW. This is not your father's ECW, no matter what. Even though Paul E.
It's not Paul E's ECW.
Not even Paul E's. But again, the one match that was kind of a filler on this Saturday Night's Main Event, we should talk about it for a second, was Sabu. They were promoting Sabu. I got no problem with that. I was, in 2006 CW, my mindset is like, number one, I can't believe they got Sabu a WWE contract, and number two, I was like, how long before Sabu gets fired? Because I was doing a countdown. Because I like, he's not.
I watched it today going, I didn't remember him being there other than them invasion things. So when they were showing him babble, and then he had a match, I was like, wow, I don't even remember this. This is right around the time I'm winding down.
No, he had a match with Rey Mysterio. He had that match with John Cena. And I was like, I was like doing a countdown, like, he's not going to last for more than 6 months and all that shit. So I was like, and then the way they treated this was like an afterthought. So, what say you about the Sabu jobber match against our friend from Hami Media Group, Stevie Richards?
There was a point where I thought Stevie owed him money. But what it looked like to me was, first of all, it was a quick match. So was the first one. No. The mixed tag was quick. It was so fast that I thought, man, it kind of made me excuse what Sabu did. Sabu was sloppy. He was rushing. And then the finish, he couldn't make it. The table fucking broke. He couldn't make it for the thing, so he just threw the chair at Stevie. Then after he wins, Stevie's laying there selling. Then he does the leg drop thing that he was trying to do from the damn rope in the first place, where he leg drops on the chair. And I'm like, man, I hope Stevie knew that was coming before he just jumped on him and did it, because he kind of put his arms up, which is bad, because that's how you get your elbows broken by a chair and someone's body landing on it. But I think he was doing that because they got so little time. He was trying to get his shit in like he was a young buck.
And you can tell, Reflection Nights and TW, maybe you can agree or disagree or have a different take on it from your wrestling perspective eyes. Sabu had no filter with Paul E. Sabu can do what he wanted in the original ECW because Paul Lee was like, do whatever the hell you want. I know what your worth is. I know what you do in that ring. Your let's say your persona, your character, and your reputation sells it itself. Now we know there's a different beast backstage, and that's Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard. So let's say with the wrestling perspective, because again, remember, like I said, I was counting down the days before Sabu was going to get fired or let go of his contract, because I was like, you even look at this match, it's like, could you imagine what Vince McMahon is thinking backstage? And I know two things. One, Sabu doesn't give a fuck. And two, I just wanted to be there. I wanted to be the fly on the wall when Vince McMahon is looking at Sabu when he comes back through the curtain. Let's say about that mentality.
I felt bad for him, but what it showed me...
For Vince or for Sabu?
For Sabu.
Oh, okay.
Because he was trying so hard to get that crowd to react, and they weren't. And he was doing all the flippity-floppity with the chair and then moonsault. He did that ECW stuff, And the crowd just kind of sat there until he reached for the table under the ring, and then they reacted. And what that told me was, even back in 2006, which is TNA still going at that point, pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Angle's probably there, right? In 2006 or close to it.
No, this is the last maybe couple of weeks before he gets fired from WWE.
Right, but I'm saying TNA's doing good, is what I'm saying. They had enough money to bring in.
They were decent. Yeah, they were decent.
So what it showed me, and again, this isn't a knock to all the people that are going to think it's a knock. It goes to show you why I don't think AEW is competition to WWE. I think the people that like AEW like that stuff, and I think the people that like WWE, and there's far more of them, like that stuff. And so ECW and WWE are not the same at any point until it becomes WWECW, right? So when you have those fans sitting on their hand, it's not that they don't like it. They're just not familiar with it. And they're probably like, holy shit, this guy, he's all over like a pinball. So you're kind of like, you're probably, half that audience is sitting on their hands is probably like, what the fuck is this? You know, they might have left there loving that guy. And
plus, no disrespect, but the ECW TV deal between WWE and NBC, they put it on the Sci-Fi Network. Right. So when you put and we all were laughing like, why the hell is ECW on Sci-Fi? But then the first episode of ECW we did was the Zombie, the debut of the Zombie. So everybody remembers the Zombie in ECW more.
Very first thing, and I went, what the fuck? I remember texting somebody or call. I don't know if I had a cell phone. Going, is this the kind? I'm like, this is what ECW did, and they were like, fuck no. And I'm like, oh, and I thought it was Mikey Whipwreck when he came out dressed up like that.
But again, that's what it was, and that's the kind of respect that Vince McMahon had. He milked it for the money that the name brought, the letters brought, but he just didn't respect it enough to give it a proper platform. But that being,
he did do Kelly stripping in the cage in between. That's
not respect. That's not respect, though.
Not that respect. Was just, I'm saying it was very ECW to have a chick dancing in a cage in between matches.
You can call it, maybe you could call it that, or you could call it the Attitude Era Divas thing. But anyway, neither here nor there. Let's talk about a different segment, TW. And I guess we could have the glorified Hulk Hogan moment, brother. And he actually opened the show, TW, and he wasn't alone. He was with his daughter.
His terrible actress of a daughter.
She's also a singer too. But anyway, he was there with his daughter, Brooke Hogan, and I do not. Well, TW, go on your Wikipedia for a second. How old is Brooke, and how old was Brooke?
She's 35 now, and that was 18 years ago. It was 2006, right?
Yeah.
So 18 years ago, she's basically half the age she is now.
So she was 17
minus 18. It'd be 25.
17.
She
was 17. So there was a lot of pedophilia of people howling at a 17-year-old because she's not
was
that
she
quite
really 17.
You just said it. You did the math.
Yeah, I looked it up. I'm like, how old is she now? I'm like, is she 40? That's crazy. You're right. She's going to end up having. Wow.
That's why I was asking, because you always do the Wikipedias on the low. But anyway, she was 17 years old, and you got.
She was born in 88. So she was 18. She just turned 18. So she's gonna in Cinco de Mayo, motherfucker. She's gonna be 36.
Oh, okay. So she
just turned 18.
So she just was. She was around that age where it was legal enough to howl and scream and say, "I want to have hardcore sex
like
with
a hoochie mama."
And dress like a hoochie mama. But because at that time, TW, in case you didn't know why they were there. It wasn't to put over Randy Orton or to have a program of Randy Orton that was going to eventually happen at SummerSlam in the later month. It was actually because Hogan was doing his reality show at the time on VH1, Hogan Knows Best. So Hogan is a businessman. So he knew that, you do for me, I do for you. I want to promote Hogan Knows Best. I want to promote my daughter to make her, to have the limelight. And then I'll do the match with Randy Orton. So let's say with all the combustible elements coming together.
It was good, and the crowd liked him, and to me it was fitting because he said it. I was on the very first ever Saturday Night's Main Event in 1985 or 86, whatever he said.
85.
And it was fitting, like just like him coming out for a WrestleMania to MC it. It's fitting. It's the house that Hogan built. Vince was the contractor, but Hogan did all the heavy lifting, right? So it was fitting, and I didn't understand why his daughter was there. Now it makes sense because they were cross promoting. I liked that Randy Orton came out hitting on her, and it led to one of the very first RKO's out of nowhere. It was like
the RKO on the limo to Hulk Hogan. So
it wasn't a limo. Hogan was driving that motherfucker. That was a town car
or whatever. It was a
it was like an Impala or something.
Whatever, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, and it was a nice bump, nicely timed. Everything. It was pretty cool. I liked it, and it was cool to see Randy, like how much he's kind of the same, but how he's evolved. Like he was jacked back then. Like.
Well, remember, we got to be a little fair here because again, the legend killer persona was at its peak in 2004 when he was starting that and disrespecting it. And then, you could say Vince McMahon made a mistake by turning him babyface to go against Evolution at that time and go against Triple H and all this stuff. I don't want to go too far back, but once you got to 2006, Vince McMahon knew that he just doesn't have that good guy charisma just yet. So he needs to be, he needs to feel comfortable. And the only way to feel comfortable is to be the legend killer. The only way to feel comfortable is to be that heel. Just like you always say, TW, it's easier to be the heel than to be the baby face. And
because it's funner. There's less stress, man. It ain't hard to get people to not like you. It's hard to get people to like you.
And Randy Orton was, would you say Randy Orton was still green with the psychology to like not understand the elements of being the good guy, but
green with his acting. Like his acting was pretty, like you could tell he was trying to remember lines. There's a clip not that long ago where he's in the ring with Sheamus and he flat out says, "No, what's my line again?" And then Sheamus mouths it and he says his line. He goes, "Sorry, I got a little sidetracked." It's like it's because of the weed. Let's be honest. He smokes a lot of weed. So but he's still pretty green there. I mean, he's obviously better than he was when he started, but when he broke his fucking collarbone on his first match or whatever, he did a moonsault or something and broke his collarbone. Remember that when he first came out? And they tried to make him look like Cowboy Bob Orton. He had the perm, the little bob haircut perm, and one he missed was the cast. You
learn from your mistakes, Reflection Eyes, and he had to learn, and he grew. He grew right in front of our own eyes, TW. So from 2000, you could say 2002 to right now. He's grown with us. I've grown up with Randy Orton
now.
Yeah, he's one of the.
He's very, very well respected, very well renowned. And you're talking. He was someone that I hated before Punk and before Cody, that I came around on, and I didn't actually come around on Randy and probably just before the RK Bro stuff. Like I started coming around on him because I still like. To me, it's not cool, and I know guys that were like that. That stuff he did to Kofi, I just remember watching it live on Raw, thinking, "Dude, that ain't cool, man. That ain't cool at all." Where, you know what I'm talking about on that Raw, where he goes, "You fucking idiot," like because he botched a spot or something.
Yeah, and he was a prick. He was a young prick. He was an absolute with an attitude. Yeah, he felt entitled. Yeah, so
I just felt so bad for Kofi. I think that's probably part of the reason why. I'll be honest with you. I'm still surprised Kofi ever was world champion, just because of how much smaller he is than everybody else. And Ray, the only reason he was is because of how much it was the underdog angle, right? So when Kofi won it, it was awesome. But then I think to myself, first of all, everything had to happen the way it happened for him to have that.
Let's not divulge into the Kofi Mania stuff. I know,
but what I'm saying is that moment Randy did that is probably also part of the reason why Kofi was held back. Because at least he didn't get fired like Mr. Kennedy.
Which you proved my point from a previous episode, but you just don't want to admit it. You're trying to like recycle something when you disagree with me when I said this stuff. But anyway, neither here nor there.
Yes, I got the tape. I'm still sticking to what I say. I don't think he was held back, but if he was, I'm saying this probably played a role in it.
This is what I said from the beginning, from jump.
But anyway, I want that clout Randy had then. He had more clout when he got Kennedy fired, but
he had enough clout with Triple H being his backup. But anyway,
I believe right around that time after that stuff happened with Kofi, he got sent to fucking anger management. So really,
he got like you said, he was entitled and he got away with a lot of shit. But anyway, we're not going into that realm right now. Let's go into another match, and now we could talk about the SmackDown match, the SmackDown hierarchy match. It was a 6-man match. You had representing SmackDown per se, you had King Booker, the U.S. champion, Fit Finlay, and of course the world's strongest man, Mark Henry, against the world champion, Rey Mysterio, and Batista, and Bobby Lashley. And he was young and green. Not young, but he was green here because they were building him up as the Black Brock Lesnar here. So what say you about all the combustible elements in this match? Because plus this was Batista returning from an injury that he supposedly sustained from storyline purposes, Mark Henry. But we know that he was mending some wounds. I think he had a shoulder problems in early 2005 into 2006. So, he was working hurt a lot. So he had to take some weeks off. But anyway, neither here nor there. That's just more logistical. But, of course, an underrated character of King Booker. And again, this was in the early stages of the King Booker persona because the accent wasn't just there yet. He had a mouthpiece with William Regal, which was fine. But anyway, we know that the King Booker persona is when King Booker, finds his British roots. Yes, when he does his 23andMe and finds his British roots. He finds his European family roots, and he really divulges into this character. What say you about everybody in this 6-man?
There's a reason I've been a fan of Booker T's forever, and the King Booker stuff. I still kick myself for not getting that action figure of him as King Booker back when I wasn't collecting elites. I got one over here of him. It's NWO Booker. He's got the short dreads with the Trek pants like The Rock. But for me, the crazy thing about this match is Fit Finlay being the U.S. champion and having beaten Bobby Lashley for it. It's what it shows me is this is 18 years ago almost, and it shows me in 2006 there were people on the internet bitching about the WWE's worse than ever. It sucks. But to me, to look back and John Morrison comes out with the Intercontinental title later on, and Fit Finlay is the U.S. champion. Those guys ain't smelling, not those guys because they're round, but guys like that, they're not even smelling gold in the current product, right? Like Fit Finlay was this legit Irish brawler or whatever that if he would have been around 20 years before, he would have been fighting Hogan for that belt. Like he just had that aura, right? And so it was,
and he would have lost. He would have lost.
For sure, they all would have lost. But what I'm saying is he's a throwback. And in 2006, to watch that in 2024 and think, holy shit, he was the U.S. champ and he beat Bobby Lashley for it. That's cool because it's something you wouldn't expect. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I just saw a clip where the guy's asking Cody about a picture that him, Beth Phoenix, Chris or CM Punk, Zack Ryder, and a couple other people took that Punk wanted it to look like the new era coming in. And he said, did you feel that way in 2010? And he says, oh, yeah, absolutely. He goes, but here we are 6 years later, and Brock Lesnar's still the champion. Like nothing came of it. Nothing changed. And so back then, there's no way you think Fit Finlay's winning a title, singles title, period, let alone beating Bobby Lashley to get it. And the other thing, I watched the clip, Kurt Angle on Fire, and it's another 6-man match. It might have been a Survivor Series, and Kurt and Triple H were the last two. I don't know, but he came in and he's just throwing belly to back suplexes to Brock, Albert, I think Booker T. I don't know if it was Booker T. Anyway, he's just tossing 4 dudes around, and to see Brock get tossed around there, you're not going to see that now, right? It's crazy. Like Brock back then getting wrestled against was normal. Now he smashes everyone he gets in there with, other than they get a quick lucky strike or something like that on him. But Brock is different now than he was then. I like that Brock back.
I understand where you're going with this, but I would push back, especially with Fit Finlay winning the U.S. title. It's the U.S. title. I don't feel like it would have been it's not a launching pad for Fit Finlay to taste the main event scene. But the U.S. title was still prestigious and respectable enough that he beat Bobby Lashley.
That guy's a 24/7 champion or a hardcore champion. He's not a United States.
I don't know. I think you're putting that 2024 eyes on that.
Absolutely.
I don't see that.
Absolutely. I wasn't watching it back then. That's why I'm telling you. I was surprised to see it now because I didn't know then.
Well,
I know belts are hot potatoes back then. Like that's why I'm kind of like, I'm relieved that all those people lost their belts at WrestleMania and ended those long reigns, but I like that they had them because I don't like feeling like, what's the side effect of that is now anytime somebody defends the belt, I'm like, there's no way he's losing it because he's going to hold it for a while. They all hold it for a while again. And then boom, like Samoa Joe losing already. That's good. That's good because you want to feel like everybody has a crack at it. Not one guy's going to keep it forever.
There's a positive and a negative for everything. Right. But
you don't want everyone to win it, but you want to feel like everyone has a chance to win it.
But within this 6-man match, Reflection Ice, we can. I just want to hone in on another person. Well, the current SmackDown World Champion of 2006, and that's Rey Mysterio. You know, the deadbeat dad. You know, he didn't want to pay anything, but anyway, neither here nor there. He couldn't he wanted to pawn off that title for money, but anyway, you know, for child support. But again, that's just my conspiracy theory. But what say you, TW? Because again, they were promoting heavily of Rey Mysterio during 2006, and of course, you know, his epic win at Royal Rumble, his epic win at WrestleMania, in to celebrate the life and legacy of Eddie Guerrero. For all that stuff, it was great, but it had a shelf life. I'm not saying, I don't know if people were like, okay, I understand why
and
you
it was done once before, minus the Eddie stuff in WCW.
You could say that, but that's what I'm just getting at, because now you're like, this is July of 2006. You're 7 months into this, of the whole year of him giving tribute to Eddie Guerrero. I'm not saying that, sometimes people are fickle. Wrestling fans are fickle. I'm just being honest. And people
get ready for Uncle Howdy. Get ready for it.
You said it. I'm not saying that. I'm just trying to be.
I hope it succeeds and is huge, but I'm already prepared for people to talk shit about it.
Well, people talking shit about Cody Rhodes' reign already in week 3. So I get where you're going with it. But again, people were, the wrestling fans were becoming fickle with the Rey Mysterio tribute to Eddie Guerrero. But, they did promote him as the underdog champion. He would fight, and he was.
Who do you win from?
He won it in the triple threat between himself, Randy Orton, and Kurt Angle at WrestleMania.
Oh, okay.
In 2006. So what say you about Rey Mysterio as the world heavyweight champion?
I like it, man. I like it when anybody that you think never ever had a chance, because again, who's to say 2006? A lot of those guys are probably wrestling by now, because I was, by the way, surprised to hear that Will Ospreay is only 30 years old. I thought that dude was 35 or 40 because of how broken that dude is. But apparently he must have been wrestling since he was 16, like the rest of these guys. But Rey Mysterio winning that belt in WCW and Rey Mysterio getting a run in WWE, there's no doubt in my mind that some of these younger guys that are small, like a Roddy Strong and Adam Cole, or I can't think of anybody on WWE that's Ricochet. These guys are like, whoa, that guy can be world champion, and it makes them feel like, well, then I can be, right? It inspires today's high flyers, if you will. So I like it because there's long lasting repercussions from it that are good. I don't know if repercussions is a bad word, but there's
no, it's not repercussions. It's ramifications.
Ramifications. There you go. That's perfect. There's long ramifications, and that's the reason that angle with Dominic. That's the reason we can have Dominic now. I love Dominic Mysterio, man. I love it. I was explaining to somebody yesterday. I said there's a difference between. It was my buddy Denny. I'm like, there's a difference between go home heat and good heat. I go, Dom has good heat. The people aren't booing him on sight. They're booing him when he's cueing them to boo him when he lifts the microphone up. That's good heat. I go, Die Rocky Die is not good heat. I go, and that's why we got the better version of The Rock, because he was legit hurt by it and pissed, right? So then you get this attitude from him that it's, again, like I said earlier with Kofi, that other stuff had to happen for this version of The Rock to exist. And there's nobody on this planet can say it with a straight face other than Kevin Nash. I don't know what the fuck's wrong with that guy lately, but there's no one on this planet that can say with a straight face that The Rock isn't one of the greatest of all times. There's nobody.
Well, of course, there's always somebody that can actually retort your statement right there. But anyway, let's move on.
Anybody looks me in my face. You can tell me why he's not the greatest, but you're not going to tell me he's not in the discussion.
I understand that. I'm just saying, but somebody will find a way to retort you on that. That's the nature of the beast of debating. But anyway, let's go on with this Saturday night's main event. And again, another kind of filler spot here was the Divas Bull Riding Contest, TW. I know that was your favorite segment of the night because they were in Dallas.
I was disappointed at the two finalists. I wanted to see the first one with all the other. There was some hotness on there. There was absolute heat in there. And you know what? I'm going to go on record. Every time I see Michelle McCool now, when she comes out with WWE, I'm like, her? I feel like she's ugly. But then I seen her on this, and I'm like, oh, I get it now. She was pretty damn hot. And I didn't remember her being hot. I don't mean she's ugly. That's a terrible thing to say. It's like, what's the one chick? She was on the Divas show, but she ended up not Summer Rae.
Okay.
They brought her back for the Royal Rumbles, but she looks like a bird to me. She's the kind of girl that if she didn't have long blonde hair, people aren't calling her hot. You throw short hair on her, and you're like, okay. She looks like she's going to own the Tweety Bird in about 40 years. She just has that older face, like she's going to be a grandma.
Oh, God. But anyway,
yeah, I'm just
there was a reason for the bull riding contest, TW.
Yeah.
And that was because they were in Dallas, Texas. They were in Von Erich country. But, what better way to pay tribute to the Von Erichs than have a Diva bull riding contest? That just screams Von Erich. That just screams world class.
They were holding the strap that looked like a strap on. They were holding it with the iron claw. That's what that was all about.
Oh,
okay. They were wearing cutoffs.
Thank you for explaining this to the professor because, again, most people will not catch that. That's why you need a partner in podcast Reflection Nights. That's why TW pointed that out. And the finals of this was Michelle McCool and Victoria. And Michelle McCool was the 2006 Divas Bull Riding contest winner, TW. So, we're not doing a review of the bull riding contest. I know you probably wanted some other diva to win. But for today's marktards, for today's neckbeard virgins, they be like, this is a travesty. These women can wrestle. These women have athletic abilities. They can put on maybe matches. They can put out a 10-minute banger, if you will. Not that kind of banger, Reflection Nights. We talk about a wrestling banger. I know. I want to see the other banger, too. There's sex tapes out there with Victoria. But Google that. But anyway, neither here nor there. But TW, you know where I'm going with this. The diatribe is, like you talked about with a little bit with TNA, there was that alternative where TNA they kind of like played along with the sexualizing stuff a little bit, but
TNA, you think?
Well, not only with the name, but they had some sexualizing segments with Gail Kim and what's her name? The redheaded chick.
Uglies. The beautiful uglies or whatever the fuck they were.
The beautiful people. Yeah, you know where I'm going with
Maria,
this.
or not Maria, Kim.
Christy Hemme and stuff like that. But you understand, they had those little segments. But when they got serious, they did the wrestling stuff and
tore the house down.
And Mark Tars was like, this is what we want out of our women. And you did not see this on a regular basis in 2006 with WWE, with the WWE women's division. You had the bathroom break matches. Yes, there was the Divas title. Yes, there was a women's title. But TW, this is exhibit A through Z of the disrespect that the Mark Tars said that Vince McMahon put on these women. What say you?
I'm gonna completely disagree with them because I thought about it while I was watching this, and I thought, you know what? Even still in 2006, even now, I mean, there obviously are far more female fans now than there ever have been. But it dawned on me watching this when actually it was the mixed tag match that made me think about it. With Trish,
we'll talk about that too. Merge it all together.
Yeah, when Trish and Melina were beating each other up, I thought about it. I go, you know what? This is a product for men. And if you lined up 10 men on a panel and said, okay, we're going to put inside of a professional wrestling show where all your favorite wrestlers are beating the shit out of each other, in the middle of that, we're going to throw your choice, either hot chicks in lingerie riding a bull or hot chicks beating the shit out of each other. Which one do you want? 8 out of 10, if not 9 out of 10, are going to say the lingerie and the bull because it's 4 guys. Now, there are girls who watch it, who see it, and want to grow up to do it, right? There's a lot more. And because of that, it would be a disservice to go back to that. I miss it. I ain't gonna lie to you. As I'm watching it, I'm like, I guess I really did like this stuff more than I thought, because I miss it when I'm watching it now and I don't see it, but it's almost like
this segment was not a bathroom break. This was because, again, we're guys and this is what we like.
But it was 4 guys. It wasn't like there's a freaking half a house of women in there that got to feel disrespected by what they're seeing. It's all dudes, other than the mothers that brought their sons there, who are doing this to the sons, but also going, oh, they're pretty hot. But at the end of the day, I think you would not disagree with me on this. You do not watch UFC women fights and think, those girls are hot. You don't. You do not watch them and think they're hot. They beat the shit out of each other. I've grown to watch it and appreciate it. It's still weird to me to watch women just beat the hell out of each other, and it's not a chauvinist thing. It's just I have no interest in seeing it. You know what I mean? Women are lovers, they're nurturers, and to see them just beaten to a pulp in some of these matches. But there was one in March or April. I watched these 2 girls fight. One of them, it was a white blonde, and then I think the other girl was either Hispanic or whatever with dark hair. I was going for the Hispanic one. I felt like the other one was cocky or whatever, and the Hispanic girl won. And I watched it and was like, I was impressed. So it's a new era now where you can watch it for what it is, 2 women fighting. But for them to get all the heat they got in 2006 and 96 and 86, there was no one yelling from the rooftop saying, we want to watch competitive women's matches. There just wasn't. And now there is. But
like, what you're saying is prevalent, because the match that you're talking about, the mixed tag, Carlito and Trish Stratus against, what was it, Johnny Nitro and Melina.
Yeah.
You know how long it went?
Less than the damn squash match with CVV.
2 minutes and 35 seconds.
I was stunned that it ended that quick.
But that goes to what you're talking about within the 2006 parameter.
And nobody complained. Nobody complained that it was too. They didn't boo because it was too short.
The women.
I mean, in the building, nobody was like, "Boo! We want them women out there longer." Like anytime I see a mixed tags match, that's my bathroom break, because it's stupid. The 2 guys are going to fight each other, and then if one of them tags, the girls have to come in. It's absolutely moronic. I want to see, if you're going to do it. Hey man, if Melina gets stuck in there with Carlito, you're bad. You better make the tag. And they could do stuff where you could get out of there. But at the end of the day, I don't think anyone was clamoring for it. Now you have it and you appreciate it. Like, hey, man, that stuff with the 4 horsewomen, I watched it, man. I watched it live, and it was awesome. I don't think they've gotten better. Like, everyone talks about how great Charlotte Flair is. I disagree. I think Charlotte Flair is just like her dad, has the same match every time she wrestles. She might be good at what she does, but she does the same shit every time.
She just does it well every time. But neither here nor there.
But at the end of the day, I think these matches, nobody was clamoring for them. And like Travis literally will not watch women's wrestling because he thinks, it's faith. He thinks it's disrespectful to his wife to walk in the room and see him staring at girls on the TV and, bikinis or whatever they're wrestling in. And so he skipped.
I was about to say he was gonna watch the Divas bull riding match, but not the match. But
no, he won't do it.
Okay, I
kind of like the Mike Pence thing, where everyone attacked Mike Pence for saying, "I will not have a one-on-one dinner with a female. That's not my wife," and everyone gives him shit for it. Yet we're living in a world we're supposed to put women on a pedestal. That's what he's doing. He's putting his wife on a pedestal. He's putting his faith on a pedestal, and he doesn't want to be out in public with one chick one-on-one, knowing the paparazzi are going to take pictures of it and go, "Mike Pence cheating on his wife." He's not an idiot, but he got canceled for it.
The mindset of
I'm sorry, he is an idiot, but not for that. He's a faithful man, and they're rare in this world.
The de-evolution of ethics from 2006 to 2020 Quattro is amazing. Not to me, but it's not startling, it's not surprising, but it's just amazing. But anyway, neither here nor there. So we kind of merged that Divas bull riding in the mixed tag team match because, again, it just got limited.
But we know what's good about the tag match? It's the same thing about the 6-man match.
Okay.
Rey Mysterio is the champ. They went over, but they talked about how Mark Henry beat Rey Mysterio in a handicap match or a non-title match. I like that. They don't do that stuff enough. Or a tag match, like when Roman got pinned in a tag match, or not Roman, Gunther got pinned in a tag match. It's the precursor to when he finally does get pinned, and that it was a tag match. The Uso brothers.
It was story arc building within the 6-man
and then
tag.
this match, Carlito's the challenger. It's a mixed tag, so it's not on the line. Johnny Nitro's IC champ, and he got beat clean by Carlito in 2 minutes, and it sets up for them to then have a title match and go from there.
Either on a pay-per-view or the coming Raw that was going to happen. So either way, it's story arc building within the Saturday night's main event matches. So let's talk about the double main event. You could say we'll start with the handicap elimination match. D-Generation X of Shawn Michaels and Triple H. They came together. They reunited in 2006, and people were going crazy when they finally got together, and it was no swerve and no nothing. And they were facing the Spirit Squad. And again, Dolph Ziggler was part of the Spirit Squad. You know, Mikey and all that stuff. And
Kenny
Dykstra was part of it. And TW, you know, a lot of people always make fun of, I guess I'll use the term now, I guess, with the Chris Jericho thing. They always make fun of Chris Jericho because he doesn't put the young guys over, or he milks all the young guys' let's say energy and momentum, and he has to, you know, suck himself. He's a succubus to young guys' momentum. See Hook, by the way, Reflection Nice.
He's saying that he's doing it to help them get over, but really he's putting them under. So it's to stay relevant.
Right. So you get where I'm going with this a little bit. It's not the same thing, but when you got two staunch veterans, two iconic figures in D-Generation X, you expect them to go over on the Spirit Squad. These are young green guys and all that stuff. They're gonna get better, you know, as they develop and all that stuff. See Dolph Ziggler, Reflection Nights. But TW, this was an embarrassment, if you will. You embarrassing 4 or 5 young guys, green, but you might say they have, you know, Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard backstage are saying, well, these guys got potential. We got to see where they go with this. But within this high-profile match, it's really not about the Spirit Squad. It's about D-Generation X against the McMahons, Shane and Vince McMahon. And Vince McMahon cannot wrestle every week on a Monday or a Friday. So you need some fillers and some buffers, if you will, Reflection.
And some feeders.
And some feeders. So you know where I'm going with this. The Spirit Squad were the ultimate feeders, bottom feeders, if you will, in this handicap elimination match. They embarrassed them. And, you know, if Twitter was prevalent then, we'd probably be like, these 5 guys are buried. What say UTW about that assessment?
They were tag champs. It was like, I thought it was for the belts because I thought they said all 5 of them defend the belts, but they meant in a tag title match, it could be any 2 of the 5. I was absolutely stunned that they clean sweeped them. And it was like, my first question I had to ask you was that the end of the Spirit Squad? Were they all done after that? Because it felt like it. And
again, they were pawns in the McMahon regime, you know, in this feud with the
I'm gonna let you a little secret that's gonna ruin the outcome of the last match. I'm gonna tell you why this happened. It happened, and it happened so strong because obviously they had big plans for DX. They did it so that people would be happy because they were not going to be happy with the ending of the next match. So it's almost, here's your treat. Here's your Robitussin, but let me give you a cookie first so that it doesn't taste so bad when you get the Robitussin.
Okay, I can understand that because again,
a little dusty finish in the last match.
Well, we'll get to that in a second, but let's just put a bow on this handicap elimination match because again, Shawn Michaels with the super kick, Triple H with a spine buster, Triple H with a pedigree. It was a nice finish, and of course Vince McMahon tried to involve himself within this. That's why I said this match overshadows the young prospects, if you will, TWs. That's why I said they just felt like afterthoughts. And you're trying to develop young talent, and this is not.
Were they doing stuff to DX leading up to this? Like, did they get over on DX, like sneak attacks or anything like that?
Yeah, there would, but the Raws and stuff like that, there were sneak attacks, and they got, you know, they got that one over.
Comeuppance, and you didn't take the belts off them. It made Shawn and Triple H over. You knew they're not going to lose in their return. I thought what surprised me is they had beaten 2 or 3 of them already, and it was down to 2-on-2 or 2-on-3. And when Vince came out, hit Shawn with the chair, and then tossed him in there, I thought, okay, Shawn's going to get pinned, but then Triple H will win by coming back. That would have made more sense to me. That they survived the 5-on-3, and then he survived the 3-on-1 or the 2-on-1. But Vince hitting with the chair, and then him taking a move from those guys on the floor and then throwing in the ring. But almost immediately after he got thrown in the ring, he reversed it, tagged Triple H in there, and then they just boom, 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 just knocked them all out.
Yeah, so, again, the young guys did not get over. The young guys kind of like were pushed to the side. But again, it was a purpose. They were buffers for a different feud, and that was DX against the McMahon. So now let's go to the main event here at Saturday night's main event of 2006. And it was for the WWE title, and it was John Cena trying to once again become the WWE champion as he is going up against Edge, accompanied by Lita. I can give you the logistics a little bit, TW, because again, it was funny enough because this was a very bad month for Rob Van Dam because he had to lose both titles. He was, they propped him up good, but then, weed is not as let's say you wasn't as forgiving for people smoking weed in 2006 as you are in 2024.
Weed. It was for being on High Times magazine with the title belt.
But that too. But anyway, neither here nor there. But you get where I'm going with this. Weed is more like, people are more progressive with weed now in 2024 than they were in 2006. So
Rob Van Dam's advertising it on AEW. What are you talking about?
Like I said, that's 2024. We're more progressive right now. Certain things, sometimes some liberals do get it right. So weed is not a subject that it doesn't need to be, it's not the gateway drug as people thought it was in the 50s. But again, neither here nor there. That's not a political diatribe. But TW, Rob Van Dam had a bad month because he had to give up both of his titles, the WWE title and the ECW title, to Big Show and Edge, respectively. So I'm just giving you the logistics there. But of course, we still have the heater feud, if you will, of 2006, and that is John Cena and Edge. And of course, John Cena is trying to get the title back. And like you said, TW, take it over. You said this was a dusty finish. Why do you call this a dusty finish?
Because you put the baby over, but you didn't put the belt on him. You did the schmage, where I could tell by the look on Cena's face that because they made it look like he tapped. And so his celebration was kind of like weird, and the audience was weird, and then the ref grabbed his arm and then said, winner by disqualification. And he's like, what? And it's like, okay, we all saw it coming. That's the schmaz. He had him beat. He won, but he didn't win the belt.
Yeah, and Lita did her job, though. Lita did her job.
And then, what's his name? He foreshadowed the whole commentary by saying, John Cena must win by pin or submission. And the first time I heard it, I'm like, duh, they all have to do that. But I thought it was going to say, or has to leave town. Like if he wins any other way. Like I was thinking, why did you say that? Of course he has to win by pin.
I think he's supposed to finish the sentence with, or he cannot challenge Edge for the title ever again as long as Edge is the champion.
Is that what that was?
I think they had some dumb rules like that, but they never follow through. You know how it is. It's Vince McMahon logic and all that stuff. So Jim Ross has tried to keep it basic and try to keep it calm for all the viewers out there, Reflectionites. And again, this was a quick match. This was like 7 or 8 minutes tops. And of course, you did get to see a little bit because, like you said, it's a dusty finish, and you thought that he would win. But if you call it a dusty finish, then do the dusty finish right, TW. That's all I got to say. But again, when you say that and it's 2006, you can't really do a dusty finish unless you really are like tuned in on the crap, because in 1986 you could do a dusty finish where the crowd of 10,000 strong can cheer and you see it, and then Tommy Young, the referee, he was beat up, he was taken over the top of the ring, like let's say by Dusty Rhodes by accident, quote unquote. Dusty Rhodes pins Ric Flair. You think he wins because Teddy Long pins, does the 1, 2, 3, and you can celebrate for maybe like 3 minutes until Tommy Young gathers his faculties, if you will, Reflectionites, and then reverses the decision. You didn't get that. It was just, if you're gonna do a dusty finish, T-Dub, that's my kind of nitpicking right there. You got to do it right.
Right. That crowd did not cheer like they thought Cena won. Plus, half of them were booing Cena anyway.
Well, of course, Cena is the most polarizing athlete of that time anyway. So it is what it is. But those boos did become cheers because what did people want out of Cena? They wanted him to be a heel. So he acted like a dick and a prick to end the show.
He was more ECW at the end of this than Sabu was in his match.
Yeah, so he threw Edge through the commentators
from the fucking steps. I thought he's not going to make that, and then he jumped with him, dude. That dude, I'm telling you, and it's always Edge making him look like $1 million. I thought, is he going to do it to the floor? And then when he jumped and did it through the table, and Edge landed, and then his back hit the edge of the other thing as it collapsed, and I thought, is that where the neck problem started? And I thought, no. He won the belt when he came back from neck problems. It was after the neck problem. And then just everything he did, and he just looked mad. He had that old Eminem angry rapper, white rapper shit going on, and it was pretty good, man. It made me realize something. If John Cena's going to keep wrestling, he needs the buzz cut back. He looks like an old man with that dad hair that he's got.
Then he's got to not wear the jorts either. He's got to look the part for his age. I mean, even Edge right now in AEW is looking the part for his age, and he's not trying to do anything that makes him look like he did in 1999 or 2005. So I agree with what you're saying, your sentiment. I think John Cena might have to wear some wrestling pants with no knee pads or something. I don't know. Let's give him a different look, whatever the case may be. But TW, let's put a bow on this episode of Saturday Night's Main Event of 2006. This was the first Saturday Night's Main Event since 1992, so it was a 14-year hiatus, if you will.
16, so, I thought.
No,
it was 14. Okay,
it was. I know my math.
It was 2006. It was 2006. So that's probably where I got the 16 instead of 14.
So what say you about I know you were still wrestling in your, in your.
That's when I was winding down. I was done.
You was winding down, but you were still in your craft.
Actually, I was done. My last match was Survivor Series 05.
Well, you still had the itch, if you will. You just wanted to find the right moments. Your head was not into watching.
4 years. Really. 4 years and 3 months later, I found that moment.
I'm just saying.
I was a parent. I had a 2-year-old at that time. I just got married. Right before that.
So then you was watching this as a parent, or you was watching?
I wasn't watching wrestling, man. I swear I wasn't doing it because what got me back to watching wrestling was the Peacock, because there was no way I was paying for pay-per-views. Not a chance.
I can respect that. So I guess this is the first time you've watched this 2006 Saturday Night's Main. So what say you give a bullet point, maybe a grade or whatever the grade.
It made me like when I went on the Peacock and I picked Saturday Night's Main Event and like that header page when you start going from seasons or whatever. The first thing you see is the Bulldogs getting run into the ropes by somebody. It was so quick that I missed who they were with. But I'm telling you, man, when I'm a kid and these Saturday Night Main Events, and half the time I didn't even know them motherfuckers were coming on. Then I'd find out last minute, like, what? And it was a Saturday, so I could stay up. I would sit on the top bunk because we had our TV in the top of the closet and the door off, right?
Right.
So I would sit with my feet under the guardrail and my arms on top of the guardrail for the top bunk, and I would watch it like I was there. And it was, my mom and stepdad would yell at me and my little brother because we would cheer when the Bulldogs won, or if that was the Bulldogs winning this is a dusty finish. They won 2 out of 3 falls, but the first fall was by DQ. So when they won with the flying headbutt, everyone thought they won the belts. It was such a payoff. And then they're like, however, because the first fall was by disqualification, they do not win the tag.
That's how they hooked you in comparison to 2006. That's why I said.
So then when WrestleMania 2 finally happens, it's gangbusters. Place goes bananas. Right? Arguably the worst WrestleMania of all time is 2. Not by
I know.
We always talk about WrestleManias. I want to say this. My least favorite WrestleMania of all time, and I haven't watched them all, is WrestleMania 2, because that whole 3-city thing was just stupid. And I could imagine if I was one of the people there, I would have been disappointed.
You're gonna love it when Tony Khan attempts it. He's gonna do it.
3-city?
Yeah, he's gonna do it. Trust me. He said, I'm gonna do it better. But anyway, neither here nor there.
Yeah.
So
Well,
put a bow on Saturday night's.
And breaks that 80,000 record.
He didn't. But anyway, again,
I would say this was good. It was definitely, we didn't even talk about the Big Show and Great Khali standoff and Undertaker come out. That was kind of cool because you had all three brands represented, you know, and Big Show challenged them to come on ECW TV. ECW didn't die for lack of them trying to make it. The guys, not necessarily Vince, but the boys were trying to get ECW over. Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler were trying to get it over. I liked it, and I liked that other than Sabu and Stevie being that squash match, it still was a stipulation match. It was ECW rules, and he did all the ECW weapons and stuff. And I think overall it reminded me of a takeover where every match mattered, you know. And like I said, the mixed tag match, it mattered because it furthered Carlito chasing the IC belt from Johnny Nitro, and then that 6-man was setting up Booker T versus, I think, Rey Mysterio was the title match.
Yeah, because eventually Booker T would become the heavyweight champion, defeating Rey Mysterio. Yep. So in essence, reflection, I'm going to go with TW sentiments, but I'll put a bow on it a different way. If they never oversaturated the Super Show concept, then Saturday Night's main event could have been not every quarter. You could have done it yearly. Maybe you could have done two special
every 3
Saturday
months.
night.
Yeah, you could have done. Do a yearly as a pay-per-view. Do it every 3 months. But
no, for NBC purposes or USA Network purposes, to just put it on free TV, so you didn't have to pay. You could have done it maybe twice a year or something like that.
I like
that. But Vince McMahon, again, sometimes the Alzheimer's just kicked in a little bit quicker. I got to do a Super Show, pal. I got to shake things up and all that stuff. So when you oversaturate it, that's why Saturday Night's main event became a novelty instead of a necessity. That's the way I will close it on that.
I will say this, and when I started watching wrestling again, like even before Peacock, where I just started. How long has Peacock been around? 2012, 13?
No,
not Peacock. The network is what got me back.
The WWE Network.
Yeah,
10 years old.
10 years. So 10 years ago is when I got back in. But I still would watch Raw or SmackDown if I was home or bored. And I can tell you that when they did the pay-per-views that were only Raw or only SmackDown, I hated it because it was just another Raw. It was like there was 5 Raws a month that month and then 5 SmackDowns the next month. Whereas when they have the shows where all brands are on it, that makes it feel different than watching Raw or SmackDown. So what I would like to see is the original 4, the OGs, Raw, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Royal Rumble, and Survivor Series. Those should be the ones that are all brands. And then the other pay-per-views, 2 in between each one of those, 1 Raw, 1 SmackDown. Then you're not oversaturating everything, right? You're going to like those 4 because all brands are on there. And then you're going to like the Raw and the SmackDown.
Maybe Triple H can bring that stability. Triple H, yes.
The Chinese no egg spout. Egg roll, no bean spout.
Triple H can bring that stability and consistency to what you're saying. But Vince McMahon, again, when he just felt like it, it was a Super Show. When he just felt like it, it was a Raw only pay-per-view or a SmackDown only pay-per-view. And with that being said, we close on this episodic episode number 183. I know that Donnie Day 1, you're on probably 145 right now on an episodic, so you got a long way to go. So, I'm not worried about the 200. You're going to miss out on the specialities of the 200. I don't know when that's going to happen. I'm trying to have you come and catch up to the professor and catch up to TW, so this way you can enjoy 200 live. So, this is why I do the other stuff. I do the rivalries. I do the movies. I do the spotlights. I do the what ifs and all that stuff. So, TW, next week, we're going to go back to the rivalries. We're going to enjoy your favorite belt. And I see it on your left. No, not that one. On your left, the white belt, the Intercontinental. Right. Yeah.
That's my right.
On my left, you're right. Yeah. How's that sound? Yeah. Better? That Intercontinental belt.
My watch is on my left hand.
Jesus Christ.
I was on my right.
Yeah, I know. That rock tattoo, that's your right. But anyway, on your right is the Intercontinental belt. And I figure we have to celebrate a very underrated, untapped rivalry for that title. And we are going to do Tito Santana, Mr. Reba, versus Macho Man, Randy Savage. I'll give you some matches. We're going to celebrate when Macho Man won the title. We're going to celebrate the Puerto Rico match where they were drenched in a flood when they had a match. We're going to talk about those tag team specials with Tito Santana teaming up with Bruno against Macho and adorable Adrian Adonis. What say you, TW? Are you excited about that?
I'm finally excited for one. I'll tell you what, that's one of my 1986 Boston Garden. Macho Man hits him with the knife handle after the suplex into the ring, and I was furious because Tito was my very first favorite wrestler, and that's one of my first memories in wrestling. And I think it was February of '86.
Mm-hmm. I got him riled up, Reflection Nice. I got him riled up, so he's ready.
I'm still mad I don't have a Tito Santana figure, man. I'm very angry about it.
Who knows? Maybe your friend can actually do you the honors and hook you up. The one that gave you the Yokozuna as a favor.
They don't make them.
Who knows? Maybe he can
I
find
didn't buy
it.
the one that they had at Target. The same reason I didn't buy Booker T. It came in the Hall of Fame packaging. I bought the Warrior because it's the Warrior.
If someone can make a Calavera Cortez special, someone can make a Tito Santana special. I'm sure Tito Santana would sell it. He probably could sell you one of his. Go on his Facebook.
Tito figure. I'm gonna get me one.
So TW, give out those socials so we can finally get out of here.
Already fresh from their probationary stipulation still being on there, but they came through last time. You can catch us on the PWC network at podbean.com or Hami Media Group at podbean.com, as well as channelattitude.com. Our X is at PW Reflection. I did mention Travis, so at Nuts and Volts PW. Maybe hit him up and tell him you miss him and he should guest star one day. You can find Big Ray Hernandez on every single version of social media there is at Big Ray Hernandez, and every Wednesday live on the Next Level podcast. You can find me on Instagram and X at TommyWonder19. You can find me on other X and TikTok at The Tommy Wonder. Snapchat is #Wonder. Facebook.com/Tommy Wonder. I don't even know what my true social is, but only Big Ray follows me, so it doesn't matter. And then you can get Big Vito and Noel at Big Vito Brand on TikTok. And you can watch the early release of the Reflection video at Big Ray Hernandez on X.
And when this drops, Reflection Nights, I will be a year older, a year wiser. This is my birthday weekend month. So, happy birthday to me. Because I'm 47.
Cumpleaños.
Gracias, Tito. What the hell? What the fuck?
Did I just get abducted?
Yes, you did. See, video Reflection.
Happy birthday. Oh, that didn't do
it. No, it didn't work. I said
cumpleaños.
I don't know. You had a magic word. So.
Come on behind it.
It worked. I don't know. He's gonna
that is insane.
That was, I don't know if that was my birthday present, but that was a great birthday present.
That happened before, and you didn't catch it. And I asked you, did you see it? That was longer and more. Wow.
Again, I did not see it. So, video Reflection Nights, catch it on Big Ray Hernandez's extra. But anyway, this is my birthday weekend. I'm 47 years old and all that stuff. So you can catch me on my extra at PWSO PRF at PWSO Pro, and follow my brothers in arms of the PW Hustle, Billy Ray Valentine at Obi-Wan Yanomi, and the king of the reactions, 8-Track Brown at the #8, TRC Brown. And again, next week we're going to do rivalries, and TW is already amped. He's excited. Tito Santana versus the Macho Man. Ooh, yeah, dig it. Randy Savage for that Intercontinental title. I'm going to try to find many matches from Boston Garden, some matches from Madison Square Garden, and all that stuff. So from that, I'm the professor, the birthday boy professor, Chabelo Cruz. That's Mr. Wonderful, WWE Idiot's Own, the Iron Stomach One, the undisputed, undeniable Detroit Heavyweight Champion of the World.
I'm going to have that belt commissioned.
Yes, you should. TW, Tommy Wonder saying good night, and we'll see you next time here at the PWR podcast at the Hami Media Group at podbean.com.
Word life.
Thugonomics, it's all about that.